Hey YouTube, it's just Brandy, and let's talk growing up hip hop. So growing up hip hop is not one of my favorite reality shows. It's not one of my go-to reality shows. Actually, I think that the show is quite boring. I do appreciate though that the people on the show do actually fit the title for the most part. With a lot of the reality shows, like Housewives, they're not housewives, or Love and Hip Hop, they may have no connection to hip hop or not be, dating anybody in hip hop. It's just, turned into something else over time. But the problem that I have is that the people like the Simmons, besides JoJo, I'm glad that JoJo is on here now, because I feel like out of all three of them, JoJo has the most personality. Angela is so boring and dry, and I think that maybe she might not be like that in real life, but I think she's so image conscious that she doesn't want to show herself in any particular type of way in the public. So she tries to keep herself so PG, and she's just so nonchalant. Like, she's just not a good person for TV. And then the older sister, Vanessa, it seems like she's just so shy. She seems like one of those children that didn't get a lot of attention at home, and so now that she's an adult, she's so used to not being paid attention to, she just doesn't have any type of personality. Like, that's the type of person that she seems like. She seeks her little sister's approval so much. Like, why and for what? I mean, girl, you're grown with a child. Get a life. But on this episode, it started off and Angela was mad at Romeo because he stood her up for a blind date where they were supposed to each bring a person for the other person, which she knows Romeo likes her, so why would you be setting him up, which was his thing. But like she said, he should have said that he wasn't interested, but he didn't. So okay, she was mad. That was dry. She decided that she wanted to throw Vanessa a surprise birthday party, which she did. Rented a house, threw her a party, told her sister she wasn't mad at her. Okay, whatever. Salt and Peppa and her like decided, she got flowers from her little young ex-boo and said that she needed to bury it in the backyard. So instead of just placing the flowers in a hole, they ripped all the petals off the roses, which I thought was so stupid and so extra, but she seems extra. Oh, and Eazy-E's son and daughter went to his grave to go visit him, and his daughter said that she believes that her father was murdered, that she does not believe that he had the AIDS. Now, I know that AIDS today and AIDS in 1995 was two different AIDS. If you watch the movie and the band played on, you will see back in the 90s, they didn't have cures. We weren't as educated as we are now. There was no PrEP. There was no take these drugs and you can live for 20 years. AIDS was still a death sentence in the 90s. That's back in the Ryan White days. Like, AIDS was a death sentence. So if you as a person contracted AIDS as a man and you were not getting tested regularly, and the virus had progressed from HIV to full-blown AIDS, there was nothing that they could do for you. If you get full-blown AIDS now, I don't think that there's necessarily anything that you can do it, because those opportunistic diseases that you get, there aren't treatments for. What they can do now is, if they can catch it while it's still HIV, there's things that they can do to help you in that instance. So for her to be like, oh, he was in the hospital for 2 weeks and he died, I'm sure that there are many gay people that is their story. that they went in the hospital and they were there for a short period of time and they died. Because like most diseases, you don't start showing symptoms until it gets to a point where it's fatal. It's a lot of people that walk around here now with different type of cancers. You don't know you have stage 1. You don't know you have stage 2. You don't start showing symptoms until you have stage 3, stage 4, stage 5. And at that point, it may be terminal. It may have spread. So I feel like they're just in denial. You don't want to believe that your father had AIDS. Why? Because it may imply for a lot of people homosexual activity. It is possible for a woman to give a man AIDS. It's not 100%. It may suggest that your father was using drugs intravenously. I mean, instead of saying, did he have AIDS, there's no reason for the hospital to lie. There's no conspiracy. Eazy-E was not a mogul to the point that somebody would have been trying to kill him and would have given him AIDS to take him out the game. It wasn't that deep. I mean, he was fooling around with Suge and on that West Coast. They would have shot him before they would have been smart enough to think, oh, give him a disease. They wasn't that smart, okay? They wasn't that smart. So that's my take on that part. I think that was the most interesting thing. And like Master P said, you better be prepared, because when you start digging, you're going to find some stuff and you may not be prepared to deal with it, because you may find out that your daddy had a boyfriend, that your daddy did men and women, because, you know, he was just out there getting high and doing whatever. Who knows? I'm not trying to say that that is the case, but you may find that out. And are you prepared? So, you know, that was that episode. To be quite honest, that Brianna, that Kendall Isaac's daughter, she's the most entertaining one on the show. And of all of them, she didn't grow up hip hop, because she is not even hip hop by marriage. I mean, unless Mary is the queen of hip hop soul, but she ain't really hip hop. But if she wasn't on the show, it would be boring AF. And she was not in this episode, and I fell asleep. Okay, I had to rewatch it. So that's my take on growing up hip hop. Let me know what you thought about this week's episode, and I will see you next week for my take on next week's episode.